Before we look at what's available now, it's worth briefly understanding what Help to Buy actually was, because a lot of people still search for it without fully knowing how it worked. Help to Buy was an equity loan scheme. The government lent you up to 20% of a new build property's value, or up to 40% in London, interest-free for the first 5 years. You needed a minimum 5% deposit and took out a mortgage for the remaining amount. Sounds generous, and in many ways it was, but it had significant drawbacks that became more obvious over time. It was only available on new build properties, which typically cost more than comparable second-hand homes. The equity loan had to be repaid in full when you sold or remortgaged, and the amount you owed grew in line with the property's value rather than staying fixed. And after 5 years, interest charges kicked in on the loan. It was also widely criticised for inflating new build house prices, with developers pricing properties at the maximum the scheme would support rather than market value. The scheme ended because the government concluded it had served its purpose, and the housing market had changed significantly since its launch in 2013. The single best tool still available to first-time buyers in 2026 is the Lifetime ISA, which we covered in detail in a previous video, but it's worth restating here in the context of Help to Buy alternatives. The Lifetime ISA gives you a 25% government bonus on up to £4,000 of contributions per year. That's up to £1,000 of free money annually, paid directly into your account. Unlike Help to Buy, the LISA bonus is yours to keep. You don't repay it when you sell. There's no interest charge. And it works on any property worth up to £450,000, not just new builds. The key limitations are that you must be under 40 to open one. You must have held it for at least 12 months before using it for a property purchase. And the property must be bought with a mortgage. If you haven't opened a Lifetime ISA yet, and you're under 40 and saving for a first home, this should be your first move. The Mortgage Guarantee Scheme is a government-backed initiative that encourages lenders to offer 5% deposit mortgages by guaranteeing part of the loan against losses. In practical terms, what this means for you as a buyer is that 5% deposit mortgages are more widely available than they might otherwise be. Without the scheme, many lenders would simply not offer 95% LTV mortgages due to the risk involved. It is important to understand that the guarantee is between the government and the lender. You do not get any direct financial benefit from the scheme itself. The benefit is simply that you can access a 5% deposit mortgage that might not otherwise exist. As we covered in the previous video, 5% deposit mortgages come with higher interest rates and higher monthly payments than mortgages with larger deposits. The scheme makes 5% mortgages possible, but it does not make them cheap. If you can save a larger deposit, doing so will almost always save you money in the long run. Check current availability with a mortgage broker as the scheme's terms and participating lenders change over time. Shared ownership is one of the more misunderstood schemes available to first-time buyers, so let's be very clear about how it actually works. With shared ownership, you buy a percentage of a property, typically between 10% and 75%. From a housing association, you pay a mortgage on the share you own and pay rent to the housing association on the share you don't own. Your deposit is based only on the share you're buying. So if you're purchasing a 25% share of a £200,000 property, your share is worth £50,000 and a 10% deposit on that share is just £5,000. That makes shared ownership one of the most accessible routes onto the property ladder from a deposit perspective. Over time, you can buy additional shares in the property through a process called staircasing, eventually owning 100% if you choose to. However, shared ownership comes with some significant considerations. You are paying both a mortgage and rent simultaneously, which can make monthly costs higher than a standard mortgage on a comparable property. Service charges on shared ownership properties can be substantial, and selling a shared ownership property can be more complicated than selling a freehold home. Shared ownership is available in England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, but the rules differ slightly between each. Always take independent legal advice before entering into a shared ownership agreement. The First Home Scheme is available in England only and offers eligible first-time buyers the chance to purchase certain new build properties at a minimum discount of 30% below market value. To be eligible, you must be a first-time buyer, have a household income of no more than £80,000 per year or £90,000 in London, and meet any additional local authority criteria that may apply in your area. Some local authorities prioritise key workers, such as nurses, teachers and police officers for first homes properties. The discount stays with the property permanently. When you sell, you must sell at the same percentage discount below market value. This means first homes properties are designed to remain affordable for future buyers, but it also means you will not benefit from the full market value increase of the property when you sell. The availability of first homes properties varies significantly by location. In some areas, there are very few properties available under the scheme. It is worth checking with your local authority and with new build developers in your target area to understand what's available near you. Here is a straightforward way to think about which scheme, or combination of schemes, suits your situation. If you are under 40 and at least a year away from buying, Open a lifetime ISA immediately and start contributing. The 25% bonus is unbeatable and requires no special eligibility beyond age and first-time buyer status if you have a small deposit and cannot save more right now. The Mortgage Guarantee Scheme makes a 5% deposit mortgage possible. Combined with a lifetime ISA bonus, this can get you onto the ladder sooner, though be aware of the higher monthly costs. If you're on a lower income and struggling to save any significant deposit, shared ownership may be the most realistic route, allowing you to buy with a very small deposit on just your share of the property. If you're a key worker or meet local authority criteria, check whether First Homes properties are available in your area. A 30% discount is significant and could make a property affordable that would otherwise be out of reach. And in many cases, the best approach is a combination. A lifetime ISA, building your deposit with the government bonus, targeting a shared ownership or First Homes property that requires a smaller deposit than the open market. The schemes are not mutually exclusive. To bring it all together, Help to Buy is gone and nothing has directly replaced it. But the lifetime ISA government bonus, the Mortgage Guarantee Scheme, shared ownership, and the First Home Scheme all still exist and can each make a genuine difference depending on your situation. The lifetime ISA is the starting point for most people under 40. Everything else depends on your income, your location, and your timeline. Getting on the property ladder in 2026 is harder than it was a decade ago, but the tools to do it are still there if you know where to look. If this video helped you understand what's actually available to first-time buyers right now, subscribing takes 2 seconds and means you won't miss a video. We post twice a week on making your money work harder in the UK. And next up, we're tackling the renting versus buying debate with real UK numbers so you can make that decision with confidence.